Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast. As many of you know, I am your host, Jillian Leslie. I'm so super happy to be here. I create businesses on the internet. I've been a blogger since 2009, and I love sharing information, tips, and tricks to help you grow your own blogs and businesses. This week has been really fun and exciting. I led another paid workshop, this time on how to build your digital product empire with MiloTreeCart, which is the payment tool that we've created. It was great. I went step by step explaining what digital products were, why they're so valuable, how to come up with an idea, how to create your sales page, get out there and sell, and how we support you in that whole process. The thing I explained is, having now done this podcast for 4 years, the most successful bloggers I interview are ones who are selling products to their audiences, and that's why I want to inspire everybody to do that. Now, if you missed it and want to catch the replay, you can buy it for $10. Just go to empire.milotreecart.com and there will be some special bonuses in there, so it might be worth it. And the reason I charge is because I know if you pay me $10, you're going to show up differently. You will be more inspired. You will take it more seriously. So again, if you want the replay, just go to empire.milotreecart.com. I think it'll give you a really good foundation on what to build, why to build it, and how to do it successfully. For today's episode, I have Lisa Princik on the show, and she is a membership expert. She has a membership where she teaches people how to run and grow memberships, very meta. But we talk about why memberships are so powerful, why they're so lucrative, and guess what? They are a digital product that you could sell with MiloTreeCart. See, it all fits together. Memberships can take a variety of forms. It is typically, you've got members, they're paying you monthly, you show up with them, maybe you teach something, maybe you provide some sort of content, and there's the potential for community, which I think is one of the biggest benefits. Another benefit is it doesn't take that much to start one. I've had people on the podcast who teach blogging, another one who had a painting membership where they showed up and painted together. You kind of can do it on the fly. And if you are an extrovert, if you like connecting people together, I think it is such a great digital product to experiment with. Because of the recurring revenue, you can make a lot of money. So without further delay, here is my interview with Lisa Princik. Lisa, welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am too. So you teach people how to build and grow memberships. And because our new product, MiloTreeCart, has like an easy way to set up memberships, I wanted to pick your brain to talk about what are the easy ways or the hard ways or the best ways to start a membership. So before we launch into that though, would you share your entrepreneurial journey and where you are now?
All right. So in a nutshell, I'm going to try to do this fast. I been in business for 13 years, and I started out as a life coach when nobody really knew what that was. I was just working in an awesome job in sustainability, but it was like too much work. And I had like friends going off and traveling all the time. And like, I love outdoor adventures. Like one of them in particular was kiteboarding all over the North America. And I was like, how do I get that lifestyle? So I had a great life coaching experience with my coach. And so I decided just to take the leap. Years and years later, I obviously fell in love with I was already in kind of in awe and in love with entrepreneurship. I find it like, it's a fascinating, challenging, like, why do people do this crazy thing? And I had some really interesting role models. So I decided to like really focus on businesses. And then it turns out I'm a very strategic thinker. When I came across the membership idea, it was more about looking at it and thinking, I know I need to niche. I think there's a gap in the market. There's not a lot of women talking about this in big ways. And it's a fascinating model to me. It's like, it's got so many options. It's complex. And I knew I could really play with that. And I knew it could keep me excited and engaged. And I already worked with membership business owners. So I really decided just to go all in on that. And that's been like about not quite 2 years now of
Okay.
focusing just on membership
Let's talk
businesses.
about what are some of these advantages or things that you think make memberships, or I'm going to say slash subscriptions, really, what makes them so unique, interesting, and lucrative, or
Yeah.
possibly
So
lucrative?
yeah, I mean, yes, yes and no, right? Like you kind of do have to get it right to be lucrative. And it is a little bit of a longer play, I would say. And that's one thing that people don't always recognize is I think they give up on it a little bit too soon because it does grow and it can snowball and become this really great thing, but it may not happen instantly if you're charging month to month, or if you're charging like a more lower access fee than say a private client. You're not going to see the same like immediate return if you don't have a large audience, but the potential is so big. So what I love about them is the fact that they are quite sustainable, and really for people who don't want to work around the clock, they are a dream business model because you don't have to, like, you can do it on a very low amount of time investment. You can serve everyone all at once with the same tools, the same access points, and every member who joins doesn't necessarily detract from the value. It adds to the value as long as you're clear on what the value is. Like if you're promising tons of coaching and mentorship, obviously more and more people does water it down a little bit, but then you can add other things, right? You can add peer mentoring, you can add all kinds of things. So it just has lots of versatility to like evolve, to not get bored of your offers, to have fun with it, play with it, and pay attention to what people need.
I love that. Okay. So we, as I shared with you, we've started something called MiloTreeCart, and it's a cart and you can set up memberships with it. Now, one thing though, that I'm watching people use our product and I'm going, where are people having success? And one model that I have seen that has been very successful for people is these are bloggers and creators, the people who have success, who already have audiences. So maybe it's 5,000 followers on Instagram, or at least 1,000 email subscribers. Like you have to have an audience, I think, to make this work. Then what I always say to somebody is do a 1-hour paid workshop and on a specific topic that you think your audience is struggling with, where you can give them some sort of win. Then by showing up live with them and listening to them and loving on them and really helping them, you can funnel these people into an ongoing membership. And I have now seen this model work multiple times.
So whether or not it's a paid workshop or like a free webinar or a mini challenge, I think it's really like if you have a system that is starting to work, you repeat that. And that's the whole part of it, is that you can autopilot to some extent. Like, I don't mean not showing up, but it's predictable. So I think whenever you find something predictable, but the difference is that everyone's going to have a slight different way of delivering. And now if you have a unique topic that people are dying to learn and they want to pay for it and it's of huge value to them and they think, oh, what's behind that? Then they'll might likely join the membership. However, if it's really expensive to get people into that paid workshop, you're paying more than you're getting people into it, and it's not converting high enough because maybe you've given too much away, or whatever else it might be. The topic might not be as niche and specific. It might not be the right system. So you have to experiment a little bit with it. But the idea is that you do have to find that system for enrollment. And I do like the idea of it being like an evergreen enrollment system where you might be giving people a limited opportunity to join the membership based on the person, like them specifically. They might not get access to it at all times, but everyone who comes across you can get access to it, as opposed to having to wait for months and months and months to do a giant launch where everyone comes in at once.
So, okay. So we're gonna break that down because
Yeah.
the thing, and we're gonna talk about how much you really need to deliver in your membership, because
Yeah.
I feel like it is counterintuitive. You think you
Yeah.
need to deliver so much, and you do
Oh
not want to
yeah.
overwhelm your people. So I have found almost like the less you deliver, meaning you show up consistently, you're available, but you don't have to create so much. All right, so
Over
let's talk
deliver.
about this
Yeah.
idea of you hear this idea like, oh, I should have a membership, right?
Yeah.
But I don't, and then I hear about these things called open and closed carts, like
Yeah.
where people, these big influencers or people with big bit, they go, oh, we're going to open it twice a year. So you have to get
Yeah.
on my wait list.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to open it. I'm going to do sell, 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 sell.
Yeah.
And then, you're either in or you're out. And then you have to wait. So talk to me about your philosophy of the open versus closed cart, or the open close, or the
Okay.
open all the time, or that.
So that in those cases you're talking about, that could be an internet famous online entrepreneur who everyone kind of hears about, has known about. They're all being promoted by the other big marketers, and that they're, to a lot of people, they kind of build up this sort of like, in awe kind of like star struck thing for certain people. And they're like, I need to join this program. When's it open? This is the only person. I've heard so many people say, to a lot of people, that's how they buy. Right. And while that works really well when you have a massive list, people are promoting you and people know who you are, like your household online names in this world. And so that could definitely work. But when you are small and scrappy and you are like, can't rely on launches that are millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands or even tens of thousands. You can't predict them completely yet. And you don't necessarily have people being like, nope, I'm going to wait for that person because I've been hearing about them for 3 years. You're taking a big chance that it might not go as well as you think. And then when you say you're going to close the doors and then you don't get enough sales, that's really stressful. And so I don't recommend it. And I think people also will come across you. They will want access. They will want to work with the person who's leading the business, not just their like the help team or the coaching team, right? They want to get help now. And so I would try to give them try to make sure that you have an opportunity for them to get the support they need now so that you can also just be counterintuitive to all these other people who are like, no, you can't get in. And for a while, just be like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's start. And you can do that by still creating some scarcity and urgency by giving them time limits to make that decision and to jump in, and not making it always open, meaning like every day they could just come back to your sales page and be like, oh, not today, or not today, or not today. Like you can still create that closed type experience for them, but still be inviting people in regularly.
So how do we do it?
Well, I mean, that's like an evergreen system where however you do your open unroll, like your event that gets them to know who you are and learn more about you, you can just create a system where you are giving them the opportunity to buy at a really irresistible price point that they never get again. Like you've got to use some sophisticated systems for that. Like you've got to deadline that, and it's got to be traceable so that they can't sneak in somehow. And you got to stand by your word, and then you got to keep inviting them in, and you've got to be prepared to, well, this is, I think the other big challenge is that we tend to try to sell something once in a while to our list or during a launch. And then we kind of just stop doing it or think only new people on our list because the people didn't buy before. But I think we need to always be inviting people in quite regularly.
Okay.
Not every single day and not every single week, but we do have to have a system to say, here's your chance to join the membership and get all this great support.
Mm-hmm.
And then do it again and do it again and do it again, like every couple months or something, or every whenever, but we still need to be doing that even if we're not having big launches.
Which is why, again, it's been so interesting watching people using our product, because they will do an ad hoc paid workshop, set it up really fast. It's an hour. And then they notice that people like want more from them. So instead of it being like what I say is it's a great way to test this before you start putting the systems in place of like, now I have to create a webinar. Now I have to figure out my tech where it's going to shut them off after a month or a week to join, and literally just kind of play with it and show up with these people and go, guys, I'm going to start a membership. Here's a link to join. We're going to meet the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of the month. Like, let's make it kind of easy at the beginning. And we're going to do it in a private Facebook group, or we're going to do it on Zoom, and I'm going to host it. I'm going to put put the video in a link in a Google Drive and email you. Like,
it can be simple. Like we can be very low tech. I mean, we can be like, I did my first open doors with Zoom calls, and I think I held things in Google Drive. Like
with a link.
And then I started a Slack community.
Or do free. It in Notion or Slack, or here's
it was
one
free.
Too.
Like my thing was whole free. It was like, I'm, minimum viable product. I'm playing with this and we'll see how it goes. And I didn't want to like invest in any major software, like also just not just the price, but the time to learn a new program. And I just wanted to make it really easy.
So let's talk about some of these hacks or ways you can kind of do it down and dirty. Like, what are some of your tricks or your ways of saying you don't have to? And we're going to talk about this, like sign up for Kajabi. Or Teachable, or one of these expensive platforms.
So if you're already using something, then you can continue to use it. And if it's working for you, and if it's like, it really well, but what I think is that like, so you're either in two positions. You either are like brand new and you don't have anything and you need to start putting some things together. You're probably looking for a one size fits all form, like platform where you've got your community or your software, your e-commerce, all that on one. And that, that can really make sense to have a simple system where you're learning one major thing, and you might not get the community aspect of it or something, but at least you can hold some files in there, like some PDFs or whatever the trainings or videos. And then you can gather, like track the subscriptions or track the payments or whatever it is. So it's like, there's that basic thing. And there are some options out there. Like, I think, your product does something like that. Then there's also, if you've got things that are already working for you, you can piece it together. And I know it feels a little bit sometimes like, oh, there's too many things, but things can link together quite easily. And I don't think we have to worry about overwhelming people with like, oh, they've got to log into this platform and they already have these 10 platforms, because they're all going to be logged into a bunch of platforms anyway. The point is that if you offer something really irresistible and really helpful for people, they'll show up.
I was just talking to somebody who has a very successful membership. And she was a little embarrassed to tell me that she hosts it in a private Facebook group. And she's embarrassed because it's not cool to say that now. Facebook is kind of controversial, and some people are like, I don't want to be on Facebook. But the truth is, what she said to me is, my audience knows Facebook, and it's really easy for them to access my information and access my videos and have community there. And I thought about moving everybody onto something like Mighty Networks or Circle or like one of these platforms. And she's like, but to say to people, hey, will you download this app on your phone? So you have, like, it was too much of an uphill battle that she said at the end of the day, it just made sense, because even if people hate Facebook, they know Facebook.
Well, and that especially if you're B2C, like if you're serving consumers who are not super tech and app savvy, then Facebook makes a lot of sense.
Like go if you're where the people are
hanging out with dog owners who want to talk about, dogs and different dog things, like they're going to be of all like technological background. So I would say that, but however, if you are, a B2B, or you're dealing with an audience that, like is on the computer a lot and uses technology, then, and some of them might be like, I'm not going to get involved with Facebook. And some of your best members are like, I'm not on it. Then I would, then you can say, well, can I lose that member, that one person, because they weren't doing Facebook in order to get more engagement? Or you can be like, engagement isn't the number one thing. Like maybe we all get on coaching calls, and do they really need to be chit-chatting all day in a group? Not necessarily. That's not necessarily the value if you've got tools and training and other things and mentoring. So I think you just have to decide what your priority is, and know that you're like, not everyone's your ideal client or member. And some of them, for the very reason, is that they won't use the technology, or they won't use it. And that it's okay, because we will not please everyone, but we have to kind of like it, like we have to choose what we like and what we like showing up on and what we find easy to use. And other than the fact that you don't, again, with a B2C, want to really play with too many different types of platforms. If your thing is all about community and you're talking about like hobbies and interests and things like that, then you're probably going to be best there until something major changes.
I wanted to take a short break to share what has been on my mind, which is while the internet is so big, it can feel so impersonal. And what I think is even more powerful is word of mouth. So if you're enjoying the podcast, please share it with a friend. Please head to iTunes and review it and give it 5 stars. This way, other people can hear from you and will listen to the show. And this way, I can attract more incredible guests that we can all learn from as we grow our businesses. So thank you for promoting the show. And now back to the episode. So let's talk about, though, this idea of how much do you need to show up in your membership to keep your members happy, but not overwhelm them?
Not as much as you think. Not a lot. This is the real beauty of a membership, is that like I was just away for the last like practically month, and I sent a couple emails and I created a couple templates that were very useful, and I did a couple calls, but it was super simple. Everyone is busy. And I was like, I can give them the minimum thing, the thing I said I would give them. And everyone, like it's when you step away and then you come back and then people are like engaged, you realize that they're busy doing things too. And they did not buy into the membership to get their like $10,000 a month investment. They're not expecting that. They probably are in other memberships and have other mentors and are taking other courses, because, depending on what you're charging, it may not be their only source of support. And so if you start overwhelming them with all these things they need to learn and do and show up for, and they stop doing it because it's too much, then they will start to feel unsuccessful. And
Exactly.
that's when
Yes.
they will back off.
So could we talk about your membership? So what is your membership, and how do you run it, and how much do you charge, and how can people join? How do people find out about it?
Yeah. So my membership is the Profitable Membership Club. And it is I would call it like a medium sort of sized price point membership. It's not super high end, and but it's not like less than $100. So
Per
it
month.
is really,
This is per month.
yes. Yeah. So it's like over that. And I mean, prices vary. So I like, based on if like when you're listening to this. So I don't want to quote prices, but prices also will grow as I get more people and deliver more value. But right now I kind of offer an all-in-one solution, and I've kept the price point really accessible. Like I know that there's a lot of high ticket programs out there that are charging like $2,000 a month for fairly similar things to what I'm offering, maybe a tiny bit more private support, but they're charging for access in terms of like you get access for 6 months and then you don't get the stuff anymore. Like they're charging more like memberships. And my club is really gives that mentorship, gives the templates and tools and the how-tos and like the networking and connecting and the community, but it's not at that high end price point. And because I want it to be accessible, and I also want people to self-lead and not like, I would rather have 50 people in there than be kind of hustling to like really serve 5 people. Like I want people to come in and get what they need and stay for a long time and not have to question every month, like, am I really getting $1,000 worth of value out of this? Like, so to me, it's like an ongoing movement, right? It's building something that has potential, that has like a way of connecting, a go-to place that people will want to stay in for a really long time. And that's what I think the difference is between like a high ticket program and a membership, that people will like gratefully stay for years.
So tell me, what in a month do I get in your membership? What are my benefits, and what kind of progress can I get?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you join right now, it's for like a 6 months access and to start, because I do have so much training in there. So there's a foundational program that's 9 modules that you learn all the foundations to running a membership, which I think is even important for people who have small memberships already that haven't been able to grow them. They're probably missing some of the like critical things about like positioning and like how to really attract the right people. Also figuring out your content, like how much to deliver, pricing, all that foundational training, launching, selling, and all that. And then we do ongoing mentorship, where we have like 2 to 3 calls a month where you can get on and get group coaching. There's
So
always
is this
enough.
you showing up, say, on a Zoom call,
on Zoom,
and people can come at this specific
and
time and ask questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there's a lot of like conversation, and everyone gets their answers, questions answered. It's not like a massive group. I don't do it on Facebook. So it's not like it's a live, because I sometimes will leave a membership when it's just a live and I like really just want to talk to the business owner, and I would have paid more to talk to the business owner, because I actually want to like, stimulate my brain about like what I'm stuck on, and just asking, one way questions doesn't really do that. So there's all that training. There's tons of templates to kind of fast forward your, like how to write a sales page and how to create a webinar and like all that stuff. So I'm constantly experimenting. And then I'm getting these great templates and tools and things that I'm using, and I'm learning in other programs. And then I'm like putting them in there. So people are like, can come in and go, oh, an onboarding sequence. Oh, a launch sequence, like email sequence, just to get like some of that legwork out of the way. Because when you're starting a new program, it doesn't matter what it is. You're like, you have to do everything, right? You've got to create the content. You've got to set up the sales funnel. You got to set up all the things, right? And so I'm taking some of that work away from people because I've got like the resources there. So there's a lot. So it's an all-in-one program, really. Like, and my goal is for it to be like an all-in-one place for support for people.
I'm going to be a contrarian for a second.
Mm.
My hypothesis, at least in my experiments with memberships, is people typically don't go backward and like consume that content as much as they go forward and want to show up with you.
Oh, I agree. However, there's always a couple people who join and you don't hear from them, and you wonder why they're not showing up on the calls, and you check in with them and think, oh, they're not engaged. They're not doing anything. And you're like, oh, I've been going through the course. Like, okay. I'm like building like they are starting from scratch. And this is the difference between people who are starting with a membership already from people who are like, I want to start a membership. I have nowhere to begin. So I want to be the place for both of those people. So that's where the people who already have one will be reluctant to go back. However, if they're on a call and they're stuck with something and they're like, well, I have a few different ideal member profiles. I'm like, okay, you're going back to, you've got to do module 2. Like you have to do it because you're missing something. You've got to pick an ideal member just to get to launch the next time or something like that, because you're being confusing and you're not being appealing to everyone. So I will then direct them to specific things. And so my goal as the membership grows is to get a little bit more, sophisticated in like, if you are here, do this, if you're here, do that, because I value efficiency. Like, I don't want to go through stuff that I don't need to go through. Like, I hate learning stuff that I don't need to know. And so I will, do my best to make sure people are starting at the place they need to and not learning things that they're like, it's not really their critical problem, because we don't have time to learn about things that are not our critical challenge.
I completely agree.
But again, for the people who are brand new or like, or just wung it and don't really know what they're doing. Like, oh, we started this thing, but we don't like we don't even know what we're doing every day. And I'm like, go back and do the Build a Revolutionary Membership course. Like, it is like 20 to 30 minute, 9 modules. You're going to get a lot out of that. And the people who are like building and growing or been with me for a while, they're showing up on calls and appreciating the templates I send them. So there's something for everyone. And that's the great thing, is that people are there to get what they need out of it. And it is different for everyone. And that's what I think is really cool about a membership.
So if I have a limited bandwidth, I'm an entrepreneur and I keep hearing, and I'm the one saying this, if you're like a blogger and you've got an audience, let's say, if you're not selling products and services to your audience, you are leaving money on the table. And I'd like you to get that money, but I've got a limited amount of time. And this is always, people will say, oh, what do I build? And they always go to, I don't know why, courses.
Yeah.
What is your thought about, I'm going to spend this limited amount of time building a course or building a membership? Where do you send them?
So I obviously think, I really believe in memberships, and I obviously think that they are like, have so much potential. Like, I can't help to think that like the dream program is the membership, because I think that over time they can be so valuable for supporting people, that people feel included, they feel cared for. Like, there's can do so many things to really transform. Like, and if you're like, a lot of my clients are impact driven, they're service oriented. They're like, yeah, I could make millions, but I really wouldn't do it. Like, I wouldn't choose that if there was no heart in it. Right. Like, they care. They want to do meaningful work. So the membership offers that opportunity. Now, how you go about it can depend on, like, if you have a successful course, then why not like add a membership to it if that's what you care about, like, or eventually, why don't you include the membership in the course, and so the course in the membership, and then give people an opportunity to say, like, start here, and then like, which is kind of what I've got, because I want an all-in-one membership. Like, I want everything to be around my membership. Like, I don't want to have like all these other things that eventually, like, there's like 3 different kinds of membership. There's like a warm up, which is like, this is the thing that you get people in at a low price point, and eventually you sell higher ticket things or private or whatever. And those are often lower cost. Then there's the follow-up. It's like, oh, I have all these great clients and they need ongoing support, and they don't need to keep working with me privately or whatever. You can do a follow-up membership. And some of those end up being both, like, oh, I'll start with you here, and then I'll work with you privately, and then I'll stay in the membership. And then there's the flagship, which is really just, to me, the dream model of being like, this is my only thing. This is the only thing I sell. And that's the thing that everyone gets all the value out of it. It can keep growing and keep growing because the value is there. The price is like reasonable enough that you're not like losing as many people you're gaining, and it can just expand and expand and expand, and you don't take any more of your time. So I think that's your choice a little bit, right? So that's the same a little bit of the course, is that, if you can launch a course that really is easy, you feel great about it, you're giving people a great how-to, and you can sell it, then, and it's sustainable, and then market never changes, then fine. But I don't know. I just sometimes wonder if, like, will you run out of, like, or the competition changes, and then you're not able to really offer more of you in that and help people further. And then what? Like, are you kind of missing out on the opportunity to like continue on with people who really need?
I have to say, I completely agree with you. Honestly,
so it could be.
Here's my advice.
It works for a while, but then I question whether or not it's got potential, or if you're just going to like blast out because you hit the market at the right time at the right place. And then what happens when your course sales dwindle? Like, a membership expands over time. It's very rarely that it doesn't, unless you just kind of give up on it or lose your momentum, right? But like, a course feels like it's a bit of a timing thing.
I agree. In fact, I'm going to say it, guys. Please do not start with a course, please. Yeah. You will feel like you're working on your business. It will feel like, I see, I'm working on my course. Don't do it. Please get out there and start testing stuff, and do a workshop, or put up a membership and get 2 people in it and listen to them,
and start doing your course within your membership.
Yeah. The thing about a membership is it's a living organism.
Yeah.
And a course is dead. It is something that it's there and it's finite. And then you're going to have to go back into it and re-record modules, and it's not alive.
Well, and you're not getting the feedback.
You're not getting the feedback.
The other thing is that when you're with your members, like what they're craving and what they are
Yes.
more interested in. So there are people who too, like I've come across some people who are selling, this is the thing, they're selling courses, $700,000, somewhere around that, $500. And then they include a 1 year free Facebook group. I'm like, well, you could just be charging for the membership because you're giving them a free, almost like 1 year membership anyway, which then feels like you're kind of also leaving money in the table because you are offering this sort of ongoing.
Right. But I don't think you show up in the same way. I
And you
really
don't show up in the
don't.
same way, but you also aren't like charging for it either. So then why not just charge for it? Like,
Absolutely.
why offer lifetime value to a course if people are only really going to watch it in the beginning if they're super serious, right? And then the other people, like, they'll buy it and then they will never use it.
And
So
I
then you
just want
can't
to,
really hook them back in, right?
I want to share the story of the start of my membership. I started my membership and I knew I wanted it to be about how to really become a professional blogger and all that that takes.
Yeah.
So I sat down with a piece of paper and I wrote, okay, what are the pieces of it? Well, like one, you need a blog and you need to optimize your blog. And another is SEO and another is email marketing and social media, blah, blah, blah. And literally, I only sketched out the first meeting. It was an hour on Zoom.
Yeah.
And from that first meeting and the feedback I got from the meeting, I knew what I was teaching second. And I didn't prepare it until right before the second session. And like I said, this is going to be a 6-week thing, right? And I knew there were going to be 6 modules. And as I said, I just wrote down like 6 ideas. And I just kind of thought about the first one. And then it was because I showed up the first time and I heard where people were struggling, I knew exactly what to teach the second time. And then maybe it was like week 3, and I could feel there was like an energy in the membership. And it was like, I think that people were starting to go, oh, this is a lot of work. How do I do all this work? And I immediately scrapped what I thought I was going to teach the first 4th module and instead injected something in where we talked about processes and how to get your work done. That's all it was. How to get your work done and how to get your butt in the seat. And like that would never have come to me if I said, I'm going to create a 6 module course on this, and this is what they need. And it was so fascinating because what I love are businesses that you create with your customers, with your users, by listening, by it being a 2-way conversation.
Totally. I mean, that's fulfilling. And it's also works because then you are being responsive and you're like, you get to create and learn and you get to share things as you go. You don't have to figure it all out in advance. And you can, oh, hey, this feels fire hosey, or like, you can tell like if you're overdoing something. And I think you also just have to develop confidence though, too, because you're not also going to hear from everyone in your membership all the time. But just like in a course, you might be overconfident saying, oh, all these people are buying it. You think they're consuming it all, but they're not.
And one thing too, that I found magical, and I didn't know that this was going to happen. So we did it on Zoom. Showed up twice a month, an hour each time in a Zoom call. The first time was a teaching session with like a, presentation. And then the second time was just Q&A, and I gave homework, but it wasn't like you have to do the homework. It was like, I motivated with a carrot. Like, if you do the homework, I'll review it, give you feedback, personal. Anyway, what was so cool was when all of a sudden the people on the Zoom call started talking to each other and giving each other advice. Yeah. So there would be something, let's say, about a strategy on Instagram, right? Yeah. And I'm using Instagram my way, and I might not know this, but somebody else would chime in and go, you know what I discovered? I did this. And it would be like, I'm learning along with them and everybody else is learning. And when you could get people supporting each other. So we had a private Facebook group, literally. And all it would be is somebody might have a question and David, my husband, and I would come in and answer if it were something like technical or something, whatever, but other people would be answering, or people would put their wins in it, like super simple. Oh my God, this is the best blog post. I got the most traffic on this blog post. And everyone would be, it was so cool when other people are like, awesome job. Or how did you
Yeah.
do that? Or
It's like user
whatever.
generated, right? It's like, yeah, like
But
you're
it's
not
again,
just,
it's like that idea that it's like a living, breathing organism that
I
you
know.
can't, almost like you're guiding it, but it has this emergent vibe of its own.
Yeah. And that's a very fulfilling, very sophisticated approach to business, which I think will pay off in the end because it's based on it being kind of a win-win. Like you can't really, like scam somebody into buying and then being like, oh, I got the money. Like you're not
Right.
going
I'm
to get
out of
the
here.
continued, you're not going to get the continued money if it's not really serving them. And therefore it helps you to perform a bit better. And so I think at the end of the day, I think that's why there's all these successful memberships out there that we don't even hear about or don't know about that exist because they're just busy delivering, living their life, having this great membership. And they don't need to do tons of marketing and tons of like bragging about it. They just are doing it because they're delivering good value. People are staying, new people are finding out about it.
And word of mouth becomes a big thing. Hey,
Yes.
oh my God, I'm in this
And
cool
it's
membership.
sustainable in both ways. So they don't have to hustle and go be constantly being like massive marketing. Like there are these memberships out there I keep coming across. And I'm like, wow, this person's got this ginormous membership. I've never seen them in the online world, but they're in the online world and they're like killing it. And it's like, I don't see them everywhere. They're not Facebook advertising and all that. So that's what I think is really cool is that there's a lot more out there that are more successful than we think, than we
I
hear
love
about.
that. Yes. All right, Lisa, if people want to see what you're doing, reach out to you, learn more, where should they go?
So my website is Scaling Deep, and the best and only way to get in on like membership and learn more about what I do and what I teach is through my training. And that is, you can get that at scalingdeep.com/freebie. So go in there
Awesome.
and grab that training because it's really, really good.
What I love about what you're saying is that memberships can be really powerful and they're almost like underestimated.
They are. They
Like,
are because I think they kind of threaten people a little bit. And they challenge us, they challenge us to really like make tons of decisions. So I think that's why they are undervalued. Like, I don't know. It's like I think it's everyone's dream model, but I think people also want to see a really fast return, and you won't necessarily see it the first moment you launch. It could be radically different a year later, but you can still keep working at it as opposed to like if you launch a course and you get no sales, then or like very few, you might be like, oh, is this worth it? I'm going to quit. With a membership, you should never quit. Like you just need to keep learning the next thing. Like I started out with a different idea in mind who the ideal member is. And then I kind of switched that a little bit more. And
right.
like at first I thought, oh, I'm teaching people like brand new to start a membership. And then I thought, sure, but those people aren't always like sure that that's their thing. And I want to make sure that people are actually going to follow through, not just use it to decide. So I was like, oh, okay. So now I like really want to make sure there's people with memberships in there already and that it works great for private clients that come through and they can join afterwards who are working on like complex things within their successful memberships. And then also the ones who are super committed. And that's where I'm like, okay, so that shifted over time. You will get to know that, but without having to kind of like give it up. It can just be constantly going. It's just super fun. Yeah, it's super fun.
Well,
Love
I
it.
just have to say, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You are so welcome.
I hope you guys like that episode. My biggest takeaway is that if you are a people person, if you are a connector, I can't think of a better thing to build than a membership. It's like camp counselor on steroids. And if you also like watching things emerge, fueling the fire and seeing how it evolves and develops, which I call emergent business building, again, I think a membership is a great option. And of course, you can start a membership using MiloTreeCart. For those of you who are thinking about digital products but don't have an idea, don't know where to start, definitely go watch my replay. Go to empire.milotreecart.com. I think you will find it really instructive. If you have any questions, of course, please email me at jillian@milotree.com, DM me on Instagram at MiloTree, and I will see you here again next week.